Jesus.
What we got? What? We are live. But listen, let me see. What's happening here? Oh man. Okay, so I think that let me make a fix here. Let me make a fix. I gotta make a small adjustment, everybody. We are live, but I am making just a tiny adjustment so that I can make sure that this live is broadcasting to all of my pages. But we were having such a good time backstage. Let me just, tell y'all what happened. We were having so much fun backstage. I think it's all my fault if the live isn't going everywhere it's supposed to go. Okay, so it won't go everywhere it's supposed to go. Apparently, there is a issue going on right now with Facebook and my inability to go live. So we are only live on my YouTube. But that's okay because we can fix this. We're going to upload this later and I will set it to where it can go live. I'll just set it up as a time broadcast. Yeah, it is doing that. Oh my word. Okay, so let me see. Did you share the link, the Facebook link?
I have not shared it.
You have not shared it? Okay, we won't be missing anything. I can just take this recording and put it on Facebook because right now
I was gonna reshare, and that's why I just
Yeah, no, you it actually worked out because of this.
Okay, good.
Right now, like it's not
okay.
Cool.
Wow.
So,
wow.
I know, right? Look at God. Look at God.
Right.
So, all right, now, those of you guys who are joining us on YouTube, I thank you. If you're joining us on Twitter, thank you so much. Those that are watching us on Apple TV and Roku TV, welcome to Create Your Future Self Live. My name is Lakita Monley, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Miss Lakika Scott. She's going to be sharing some value with us. So if you are creative in the space, if you're creative in the house, get out your notebook, get out something to write with and something to write on, because she has a lot to share with us today. And again, if this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button right there for YouTube and go ahead and like this broadcast and share it out with people who you think can benefit from it. But Miss Lakika, how are you doing today, ma'am?
I am so good. I think we've had an amazing time already. I was like,
we did.
We had an amazing time backstage, you guys. I don't even know. Listen, look, she was dropping these gems, and I wasn't ready. So I'm ready now. I said so. I think let's do this.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this because you have a lot to share, ma'am. You have a ton of great value to share. Even we were talking yesterday, and I was like, "Wow, this is nice. This is dope." So, some stuff you share with me that I never thought about it before, and really today, what I want you to really give us is for the creatives that are watching. That may be thinking, how can I take my passion and turn it into profit? Or should I take my passion and turn it into profit?
That part.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And one thing I will tell creatives is I think there should be an exploration period. I think that, when you're a creative, I think what we tend to do is see what's trending. And we tend to, kind of compromise what we are good at in order to fit, because we can as a creative. So this is what I say to people. It should be your season meets the demand. Okay. So not only it shouldn't be just a demand, because there's a demand for a lot of things right now.
Right.
But there has to be a demand for you, specifically you and your unique gift and talent that God gave you. Okay.
Yes.
So that's what I learned, because what we do is when you're chasing money, you be like, where's the demand? Let's meet the demand. But guess what? You ain't ready, and they ain't ready either.
Come on now.
So what happens is we have to take some time and go through our stages of faith, our faith stages. So it just doesn't happen overnight. I recall doing things like saying, I have to start somewhere, because most people, this is what I always tell people don't like to be seen starting from the bottom. But let me tell you about me.
Well, I mean, where else we gonna start?
But people care too much about what people say. So you don't like to be seen because, of course, because of social media, what happens is you see a lot, of course, the highlight film. We say that. We see the platform. We're like, yes, I'm going to get there. But we don't get to see the bottom, right? You have to start somewhere. So I call it the faith stages. I think God starts small with you sometimes, because he knows he'll meet you where you are and get you where you need to be. Because so sometimes, so I'll let you know, the journey, I started off in fashion, honey. I was making socks called shoe bangs about 5-6 years ago, honey. I was making these cute little socks. They look like little Bobby socks, but I made them for adult women to wear with their heels. Okay. And I called them shoe bangs. But what that was is God was saying, hey, I'm going to give you this and see what you do with this. Because you got to put yourself out there. Yeah. Amongst the scrutiny, I had to put myself out there, and I used to be in behind the scenes. That's me. I'm behind the scenes. I don't typically like to be out there. So that was a big faith jump for me. So I'm saying that to say is it started there, and then I started doing stuff like, which you mentioned, I taught football, and then now I'm in tank class. But these were all faith steps. So it required different, levels of faith. And so for me to get to where I am today. So I'm saying that you can't just meet a demand. It needs to also be your season, because that's how things align for you specifically. Because, of course, there's a lot of people who do what you do. They don't do it like you. So, but you got to be where you're supposed to be, though. And then you need to take the steps, because he ain't just going to, he will propel you. He does things like that, but he's also going to prepare you. So, but
look, let me tell you something. Sis. You just saved a whole lot of people a whole lot of stuff right there. Make sure that the people are ready and there's a demand for you. Come on now. Is it the right time? You have the product or the service, but is it the right time? Have you prepped your target audience in order to receive or have a demand for you in particular and the service or product that you provide? Let me tell you how true that is. I mean, we all have something to give. Everybody has something to give. I believe every single person that the Lord allows to come into this earth. If you came through the birth canal, you had a purpose. Yes. But understanding when to do what it is you're doing and what audience to do it with is amazing. Yeah. Your season, is it your season to meet that demand? I love it.
Yeah. I love it. It sounds simple, but it's that simple. It's just that you need to take the steps, and we don't want to wait. But guess what? When you do wait, though, because it's just one of those things about the confidence. Because you see people when they are out doing stuff, and because you have to build up some reputability, some credibility. And that's what happens a lot of time. We don't want to do that. We want to skip a few steps. So I always compare it to, like, I'm telling my age here, the Super Mario Brothers game. And I said, there's stages there. And I said, when you first played that game, you were like, you understand your superpowers. He had the firepower, and you learn how to use those firepower. And then you're going through, right? And you're like, I learned how to use my fist, how to get some points. So you just learn these things. And then the next stage, it was like, I remember it was like terrifying, the water stage. So, and then you had to learn how to swim and use your firepower at the same time, right? And so then that's why it's necessary for the stages, because that season requires you to learn how to swim. You have to do all of those things, because at that point Okay, you were going to get to that final stage at the dragon stage, the terrifying dragon stage, where all that strategy you learned. Because I remember there was like the flying, what was the flying fish? And
the
oh
fish
my God.
was flying, they would eat you off, and when you were in the sky on the clouds.
But how about that?
Come on now.
Back then, your firepower stuff wasn't good. It was about timing.
Yes.
You had to learn to
run
maneuver
at the same time. Time it just right. Run and jump.
We didn't even know that was a whole life lesson.
Stuff so you can bump the right cloud to get the coin. Come on now.
Guess what you learned also during the way? You remember you learned along the way like little codes and secrets, and they were like, if you put this so many, you get extra lives. Well, these are things that's correlation to life.
Yeah.
So when you eat those seasons, sometimes it's really tough. I remember the first time swimming, boy, I was like, I was like, I lost a lot of lives doing that.
There wasn't no saving it. You just had to start back.
You had to start over again until you made it through that stage.
Come on.
And then when you made it through the stage, you got to go to the next stage. And guess what? There were different people around the world playing the same game, but they were on different levels and stages. There were people. It's just how it is. You all had the same goal.
Yeah.
We're trying to get to the end, right? People moved at different paces. It took some of us longer than others. It's the same thing, especially in this creative space. You got to be so patient with yourself because you are unique. We're all unique, but you have to understand about staying in your lane with your timing and your season, and it will happen.
Staying in your lane, your time and your season. I'm gonna say that again. Staying in your lane, your timing and your season. I gotta quote you again. I hope that's all right. Your season. It's got to be your season to meet this demand. Come on.
That's it.
That just blessed my heart. I know it blessed a whole lot of people. Now, today we're talking to creatives because, you know, like you and I discussed yesterday, at the end of the day, business is business. It doesn't matter what the product or what your service is. It's important to understand the foundational principles of how to build a successful business. And I would say even more so in the creative space, like we are our brands, but in the creative space, you are legit your brand.
Yes. And then when you said, that triggers something. You have to build some credibility throughout some years. That's what I tell people. I was like, and I know people complain about, you know, having a day job. People be like, I just can't do this. There's so many nuggets in conventional business. Oh my God. So my day job is totally different. And I know people need to hear this because it's very difficult for them to grasp the concept and get where they're supposed to get. You're getting paid to get it. Okay?
Come on now.
Because this ain't for them. You're doing this for you. And if you change that mindset, then this will be helpful for your future endeavors. Understanding that you got to take some more and make it benefit you. So the benefit is like I work in contract compliance. Listen, contracts. I mean, I've worked in all these different areas. I've worked in every single industry. Literally, I've worked in restaurants. I've worked in restaurant, retail, call center, insurance. I've worked in government, state. And I did those things well because guess what? I was like, I want to learn everything I can get in this industry because I know I figured out, I said, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but I need all of this free information, all this free access. And so where I am now I work for the state government and I'm learning so much about contracts, about compliance. And I've already know about customer service. These are jewels, people. Yes, I know you think you don't need customer service and you don't need to know those numbers. You do need to know those numbers. I needed to know how to count money at Sonic Drive-In.
Yes.
That's where it started.
Come on now.
So, I mean, it's absolutely essential, but it's the same as you just stated. It's the same. I took a course through Cornell. It was a women's entrepreneurship. I just took it actually in the fall. And then the same principles applied. I said, there's no way this is going to apply to me. This is most of the people in my class were in different industries, ranging from they were doing accounting and, all the more seemingly conventional, but we all had the same homework assignment. And they were like, hey, basically, this is what we need to come up with. Do. Are you currently operating on cash flow? How are you, how are you operating your business? It was like, despite what you're doing, are you offering a service, product, goods? It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It really is. It doesn't matter what your product or service is. Business is business at the end of the day.
Business is business.
And when you initially step out as an entrepreneur, you are your human resources, you your bookkeeper, your accountant, your tax professional, your customer service, you your virtual assistant, you're everything. You're your marketing director. You're everything. You are everything. And I know different aspects of that probably don't sound good to a creative person because it's not the brain that you like to live in every day.
Right.
You still need to know how to do it.
And it is. And actually, you can apply that creativity to that business model. That helps you come up with creative ways. Like the marketing, you need to maximize that aspect in because you are creative. So you can come up with some great marketing strategies. So there's aspects of the business you benefit. So I always tell people, I was like, creativity, you can apply that to anything. And I hate when people say they're not creatives. If you're creating if you are analytical, creating spreadsheets, you are creative, honey. That's because when they tell me at work, they're like,
that ain't me.
We need you to create a spreadsheet. I'd be like, not today. or tomorrow either. But I understand. I just understand those to me, that's a creative gift. That's a gift. I mean, because you have to put together that spreadsheet and come up with categories and and all those formulas. I'd be like, listen. I mean, I feel like it just is what it is. I think that's a creative thing. So when people say that, I'd be like, what do? You are creative as well. It's just in a different way. So
yes, it's like how I'm telling you, yesterday in the conversation we had, some of the things that you pointed out were creative, and we're gonna get back to that football class. Don't worry about it. It's coming. It is coming, ladies. You need to know about it. If for the few of us that didn't know, she's going to enlighten us in just a minute. I know you've told us about what you do for your day job. Now talk to us about what your passion is.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you my purpose.
Yes. All right.
Is to help people. But my passion and my gifts are in the visual arts. So ultimately, because there's a difference sometimes. Okay. There's a difference. I have a business. It's called Brush It Off, which is rather symbolic because that's what I ask for people to do in my sessions. But it's a creative services. It's a mobile paint party creative service that I offer. But it ranges from anything. I typically work with, I know you all hear sip and paint. That's typically what you associate, but mine is pretty unique as it relates to that. I do those. And they are a lot of fun. But I have a different method, and I'm sure a few people have been to some of my parties, but I'm also a therapeutic art coach. So I'm not an art therapist. There's a difference. Okay. I'm a certified therapeutic art coach. But basically I engage you with inspirational, help you be present, using art, that experience more as a time to be present, self-awareness. And I correlate things with some life hacks. So it's really fun and engaging. So I do that for my small private parties. So if you ever engage in one of those, that's what the experience is like. And that's what sets me apart because I'm not just an instructor, I'm a coach. Also, I have the privilege of working with, private businesses. And that's probably more so where my business is heading. I kind of see where this is going. That's why I was telling you it's about seasons and demand, because there's an evolution that takes place as well. Because I had to start somewhere and get comfortable with speaking and providing instruction. But now I've done, since the virtual pandemic, the pandemic world has taken us into the virtual world here. I've geared more towards team building, and it's afforded me, God has opened a lot of doors with that. Organically growing is so important. I just love how God is just like, you know, how things just flow and happen, and you don't force anything to happen, and you just settle in God and let it go. Okay, that's another message. Okay, for time. You just let it go. I'm telling you, if you let things go and let him do it, things will just happen organically.
Yes,
so God has just been opening doors, whereas I've been able to work with organizations. You probably are familiar with, there's a Notes Lounge in Murfreesboro. I did a major sold out event there a couple of months ago. I've worked with, currently working with Leisure Living. It's a company that enhances residential living experiences, and they work with apartment complexes across the United States. So I do virtual paint parties, 2 or 3 a month, with different across the world. So I do, like, sometimes in California, I'm in Texas, I'm in Atlanta, New York. So I think I'm going to be doing Chicago this Thursday. So, and I'm also about to do something with MTSU staff coming up in August, with over 100 staff with the painting experience, a lot of local state offices. So it's just really, I think I'm really, that's what's making me a bit unique, because I'm going toward the mental health aspect of people in the workplace. Because it's so important. And I think I'm helping relieve some stress, and so I'm helping people in turn. So you remember I said the purpose and the passion, you kind of combine those things.
You combine them very well. Many years ago, when I was in corporate America, at that time I was working for Dell, and on a daily basis, too many times a day, we would hear about the corporate culture. I was like, it don't exist. People are not happy.
There is no culture.
Exactly. There isn't culture. But to hear that the organizations, corporations are bringing you in to begin or to foster that, I don't know if they already have it or where they are in their process with it, but to be able to partner with individuals and companies like yours to bring in things like this to help their executives or their first line supervisors, employees, whatever space that you're assisting, that in and of itself does really well for the individual employee, staff member, exec, whoever it is, to be able to say, you know what, I can decompress at this time. I can learn something. It's therapeutic. It's something that I need. I might actually get to learn the person who's sitting next to me that I don't really know you on that level, but I might get to know you on that level through the shared experience. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. You mentioned something about, I was going to ask you what sets you apart from other people, but you answered that question, not just being an instructor through the experience, but coaching a person through that experience.
Yes. You gotta have a lot of patience, I think. And I've mentioned we spoke yesterday. I told you that people often say things like, this is one of the best ones I've been to. But I tell everyone, I've never been to a paint party that I didn't instruct. So I have nothing to compare myself to. I'm doing me. I'm doing Lakika. You remember I was talking about that uniqueness and the demand. This is my season to do me authentically all the time. I guess if I'm consistent with that, then the people will bring the right opportunities and the right people in my path. So I just do me consistently. I don't know what other instructors are doing, nor do I care. I know they have their assignments and I have mine. So I don't ever look at it as a competition. I actually refer. That's another amazing thing. I refer other paint party instructors for events because it's a nice community. And we do different things.
Right.
So, I don't typically work with children a lot. I don't do children paint parties. I typically work with adults. So, but I do know instructors who do, and I refer them.
That's a good thing.
And I was like, because we're like a community. I was like, I mean, there's enough room for all of us. Come on.
Exactly.
Ain't no other Lakika, ain't no other Lakita. We do what we do because we are who we are.
Exactly. Those people that are purposed to be able to be blessed by your services, that's just going to happen. Exactly. There is no competition. We all can have our area, our space where we can thrive. And I mean,
hello.
That's easy. Come on now. Hello. That's too easy. That's too easy.
Hello.
So let me ask you, for those wanting to start a new creative venture, or this will be their first creative venture, how do you know when your creative gift and talent is just a hobby versus it's something that you need to do to pursue it as a business venture?
Ooh, that's a very, very good question. I always say, I think there's like a peak. It's like you kind of know. And that's why I was talking about that seasonal thing. Mm-hmm. You kind of know. I know we'll talk about the football thing, but I'm gonna tell you how that came about.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you want to talk about. Okay, so I'll go ahead and say I was a football 101 instructor. I taught women about the game, the fundamental things about football in a classroom setting. So no, we didn't go outside and put our helmets on. No, we didn't do that. That would have been great. But we were in a classroom setting. So how that came about was I loved the game of football. And just literally, I was sitting in the stands at a high school football game. I enjoy those thoroughly. And I heard people yelling at the officials, and they were saying all the wrong stuff. I was like, Lord, they don't know nothing about football. It was moms. I was like, they were. So you know what I said that day? I said, I think I should like teach football or something. So I went on Facebook the next day and I gauged interest. I said, hey, y'all, what if, I was like, here's the scenario. What if I taught a football 101 class? Would y'all attend? And I threw it out there, like literally threw something on the wall to see if it'll stick. Right? So I threw that out there, and you know what they said? I had so many comments and replies and said, please. And I said, oh, y'all playing. There's no way. So I said, let me come up with something real quick to teach. Because they could have hold me. So that's one thing when you put yourself out there, it's accountability. That's it's one of the benefits of social media because it's an accountability factor. Once you put that out there in the atmosphere, you put it in writing, you put it out there, they're going to hold you accountable to it. So I said, here we go. So I did that curriculum and my first class sold out.
Wow.
I had it at Patterson Park Community Center and it sold out. And I did that one in like one session and it was like 2.5 hours. It took forever. And I said, I got to improve this. So, and then I started having more sessions. And then I don't know if y'all remember, and then my job, I work for TennCare. Then my job said, hey, Lakika, we heard this is how the two can come together. I just need people to understand this is why it's important that you step out on faith on some things. And everything doesn't always work out and becomes the thing that you do. But how important it was for me to gain the confidence to step out. My job said, hey, can you come do this at Lunch and Learn? So here I am, they sending out football 101 invitations to 500 people saying the first 30 people can sign up and see Lakika teach football. And it gets sold out in a matter of like an hour. I said, wow. What? I was like, this is crazy, right? So I'm saying all of this to say, because I went on to teach several more classes and I did that for a couple of years. I'm saying this to say, just because you know how to do it, and like I said, just because there's a demand, you really need to, you were talking about those business principles. It has to make sense. Yeah. Okay. Financially, I had to know where I am financially. If this is something I am prepared to take full time, I am not in a position financially right now to do what I do full time. And God knows I will, because trust me, I will. It is written, I will do that. But ultimately, what helps you make the decision is the growth.
Mm-hmm.
When you start from your bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and you start organically growing, and demand grows, and you're providing great service, and you're keeping up with your numbers and spreadsheets. These are things that people just dismiss at the beginning, but it's important for you to gauge where you are in business. Okay.
It is.
Even if you just write on a piece of graph paper, profits and loss and whatever, it just helps you gauge to see if it's worth it and if it's worth the time. And it's not always, and sometimes it's not time. So I know some people get discouraged, and that's why I said it's the seasonal thing meets the demand, because sometimes it's just not time. But I mean, that's how when I started my paint party business in the backyard of somebody's house, my friend said, "Can you do a paint party? You know how to paint?" I said, "Girl, let's do it, because how hard can this be?" Girl, she done posted that on Facebook. All these folks talking, "Can you do paint parties?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And then here we are 3 years later. But I committed. When I started doing it, I genuinely enjoyed it as well. And I felt like I was pouring. And I was doing what I was designed to do, which is coaching people through, like, using different creative methods. So I knew. So it's not about, my husband is very particular. He's like, you don't chase money. He's really big on that. He's like, don't chase it. He said, just do it and it'll come. The money will come. So when you start being committed more time to it, when you're at night, you wake up in the morning thinking about how you can improve, things you can do. If you're trying to reach out and connect with people in the community, like I've worked with Metro Arts here recently, you see that's the venture. That's the one. That's the passion. Let me go for this. And like I said, it doesn't always end in being some big, amazing, multi-million-dollar industry, because it's just not always designed to be that way. But that's not the measure of success.
Come on now. You can say that. You can say that again, because depending on who you are, what your individual definition of success is, it's up to you. It truly is up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a world standard. Okay, you have to be really careful. We have to be careful because it's not designed. I can be fulfilled. I know how priceless. I'm at a point in my life where I understand how priceless peace is. And so having peace is knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to do in your assignment. And when that clock stops, to know, say, I did it. I did my thing.
Come on now.
And so you help so many more people. It doesn't always have to be financially. And sometimes that's the way that's some people's assignment. That's the platform he gives them. But that's not everybody's assignment. And that's okay.
It is. It is 100% okay. It truly is. Wherever you determine success is up to you. But I really love what you're saying on how that the creative can know whether it's your hobby or it's your business, because I'm gonna say it again: business is business. Business is business. For like, as a real estate investor, is this my business? Or is this just something I do from time to time? Because it's a difference.
And it has to make sense.
Massive difference. You're right. It has to make sense. Because if those numbers are not working and you still trying to force it, you just have a very expensive habit.
There it is.
You have a very expensive habit, a thing that you like to do, and it becomes very expensive for you to do it if it's not making any money. If it's making you happy and spending the money doesn't matter, that's you. But if you're trying to turn this into something that can pay your bills and sustain your lifestyle, then you might need to know when to close the door right now, refocus and see how to come back and do this thing again. Or should I ever come back and do this thing again?
Exactly. It's just like when people purchase homes. I tell people all the time, like, we purchased our first home like 13 years ago now. I said, guess what you do? I said, if I ever decide to move, because like, who wants to move, right? I said, if I ever move and purchase another home, I know exactly what I want, what I don't want, what I do want. And I said that because it's the same in business. That's why I was like, some people, you got to start somewhere, and you don't want to, some people just don't want to see, like I said, be seen starting from the bottom, but you have to start somewhere and you have to fail forward.
Yeah, come on now.
Going
Say
to
that one more time.
fail. You have to fail forward. You're
Come
going
on.
to fail. It's inevitable. Let me say this to all the people in the back, over here on the side, over here, and back here. You
Yeah.
are going to fail. That does not mean you're a failure.
Come
It's
on.
inevitable. So what's going to happen is you're going to, from that experience, you're going to come up with ways to improve your methods, your plan.
Yes.
That's just a part of the preparation that God gives us, honey. It just
Come on.
is. It's
It
a
is.
preparation period, and you're gonna fail, and it don't feel good. But guess, this is why I tell people when I have paint parties, I don't do a lot of public paint parties. I did a pumpkin paint party out at a farm one time, just creative things. I've had stuff that sold out, and I've had stuff that people didn't buy one ticket. So let me tell you the difference. It was a learning. I needed to know what people like, what they didn't, what they responded to. And did I feel bad for people didn't respond? Absolutely. I'm human. But what I did was I went back to the drawing board.
You learned the lesson.
I learned, and that's why some of us are in positions and jobs. And that's another topic. That's like, I hate my job. I hate my job. But I have a couple people that I mentor. I tell them, I say, are you getting what you're supposed to get so you can move on? Because I've been in positions that I hated. And guess what I was supposed to be learning? God was teaching me. He said, look, you too nice. You need to be more assertive. You going into business, you got to be ready. So guess what I had to learn? Conflict resolution. I had to learn how to negotiate. You know how painful it is? Because I avoid confrontation at all costs. But it's necessary. He's like, if I'm going to take you all the way up here, you're going to have some conflict. And you're going to have to resolve issues. And you're going to have to negotiate, ma'am. So it's painful. So you might as well go ahead and get it. So I was like, I was in one job. I felt depressed at the job. I did it really well. But then when I left out, I said, okay, God, I got it. I get it. I understand. It was a painful journey. That was just a season. And we have those seasons too.
We do.
But guess what? I look back in hindsight and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
So you may be, and I don't know who I'm encouraging with that, because you're like, I just don't like. I said, just get what you're supposed to get. Don't go in there looking like there's other benefits outside of health than getting paid from these jobs.
It is. I mean, you just helped a lot of people. I know a couple of months ago, I was on a podcast with a young man, and that was a question that came up. It's like, why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Well, because I don't want to work for nobody. I hate doing this. I hate doing that. That cannot be your reason. That cannot be your reason. Now, let me be clear. I don't like working for people, but that's not my reason for being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people that go to work every day to end and why they do not like working for people. Okay? But there's so many other things that they do like that require their paycheck. That they okay with. So that can't be your reason. Your purpose, your passion, your why has to fuel you. And you have to be willing to do the work in order to make that vision come true. So you can walk in that purpose.
Correct. And I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, you need to understand. I said, guess what some of these jobs are teaching you that you don't have? Self-discipline. Because I can name so many people, my mentors, they're like, I hate doing this. I hate doing this. I'd be like, you don't even have self-discipline. You don't like to get up and go to work.
Listen, let me tell you about how to help some folks. Let me tell you, because you just said a magic word right there. Oh, discipline. How many people, like one of the businesses that I have is a work from home call center, sis. And I have had, and I hired them as 1099 contractors. I've had contractors come and go. And 99.99% of them, when I ask them the question, why do you want to work from home? And they'll tell me a myriad of different reasons, but they really boil down to because they didn't get along with somebody on the job and they want to be able to work from home. And so therefore it's not a distraction, this, that, or the other. I will tell you this. 15 out of 20 of them don't make it. Because of the discipline that it requires to remain actively engaged, not only getting the job done, doing the thing that you love, but all of the bits that it takes to be able to get to the part of doing the things that you love.
That's it.
And I said that they were 1099 so that the viewers will know they were self-employed through my company. So there was a lot of things that they had to do that they would normally have to do.
Exactly.
They had to maintain that same quiet office space environment in order to provide to the client company the service that they needed to provide to their customers. Exactly. It takes a special kind of discipline in order to be a successful entrepreneur. And with the pandemic and so many people around the world working from home in industries that were never working from home before, people are flooding back to these offices.
Ooh, what you said.
Come on now.
What you said. This is what I tell people all the time. I was like, I work from home. I've always had good work ethic. And you have to have that quality as an entrepreneur.
Yes, you do.
Because you have to be self-driven and
nobody
self-motivated.
Lock in. Nobody
self-motivated.
Nobody to tell you to set this system in place, meet with this person. Exactly. Nobody's to tell you that until the end of the week, the end of the month, whenever.
Exactly.
You're yourself.
That's why I was like, I told people, I said, this is how are you going to find out what management style works for you? And if you have the qualities to be an entrepreneur, if you don't like to work. So I've worked under where I've been under, like management heavy, what they call it, micromanagement. So I've been micromanaged, and I've been where a company has been like, go perform, it's commission. You make the money, you better learn how to you'll figure it out. If you can't survive without micromanagement, entrepreneurship might. Now, I'm not saying if people need to assign you tasks and hold you accountable all the time, entrepreneurship is not the one. You have to be self-motivated. Like I have to wake up and say, okay, Lakika, this is what has to be done today. And it has to be done. Otherwise, like you said, you don't eat. Like this is like a life or death thing. So you don't want to put yourself in that position without having the tools. So these people should make lists. That's why I say I like that I've worked in every industry. So I know what my weaknesses are, the areas I need to work on. And I knew one of those areas, like I said, I was in a position where I was in insurance where I couldn't avoid confrontation. I initiated. I called people and told them, here's a settlement, and they cussed me smooth out. And I was like, you're talking to what? I'm Lakika. I'm the nicest person in the world. This can't be happening. So, but I had to learn to be assertive. I had to start speaking with attorneys, and they will chew you up and spit you out. So I had to be confident, and I had to learn to negotiate, because that's going to be a part of the business as well. I had to learn how to propose and pitch. And these are things you have to do in business. So that's how I was like, get this from your employer. It's like kind of free and you getting paid for it.
Come on now. It is. I have a good friend of mine. She told me a number of years ago, before she ever opened her company, her and her husband, that the only reason she was moving within different areas of responsibility within that system was because she was learning the skills, increasing her network to increase her net worth, so that when she left to open her own, her people would go right with it. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did.
How she moved.
Healthcare industry. She is in the healthcare industry. So where she was an employee, those same she works for a couple of different hospitals. They had to bring her back as a contract, paying her an amazing amount more than they were, to come and to get them into compliance and make their hospitals work. And the thing is, when you wait on your season, what you said.
Okay.
Sis has at that time, sis had a bachelor's degree, and she was a nurse. She has a bachelor's degree, but we would consider an RN. When they brought her, the same person, so they paid her on that level. When they had to bring her back in as a contractor and sat in the director's seat with her bachelor's degree.
Listen,
as a nurse.
See how things organically, and we're talking about the organic growth.
Now, has sis elevated since then and done more things? Absolutely. She's gone on and got, and let me tell you, this wasn't like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Sis made this move in 2012. We're in 2021. She's been a hospital director for about 4 or 5 hospitals.
So she's been moving with intention. Is that what I heard you say?
That's what happened.
She was intentional with those moves.
She was intentional with those moves, steady building her company. She wasn't going back to work for them as their company.
Exactly.
Her company. Let me contract with you. So now they're contracting with her to make these moves. In where she was in her level of education, and stop because she built the way God told her to build.
There you go.
And when she released into her for her own, it was amazing. Whole new level of respect, whole new cash flow. But her peace was different. Now she owned her time. She could tell them what her time was worth, because ultimately the goal was to be and have more time with her children and her husband. And
she kept her eye on her why. Yeah, that was her why. That's what happens when you do that. Yeah, you stay focused and you remove all those distractions. Yeah, because we get distracted by things that work shenanigans. That's not why we're. This is not why we're here.
Come on now.
We need to focus on the why. That's why I tell people all the time about work. They're like, you can go to work and go home and that's it. I was like, no, you can also build relationships. We're adults here, okay? So we know how to coexist. But I will tell you this, my job intentionally, a part of the performance review is that engagement. They did that intentionally. They increased the percentage of what that's worth. You know what that means? Likability. So for all those people who think you just go to work, but guess what? That's very essential in entrepreneurship as well. Because guess what? People aren't buying Lakika's paintings, the finished products. They're buying Lakika. So I am the brand. I have to be likable. And I have to be able to engage and effectively communicate with people, even when they get on my nerves. And I mean, these are skills you learn in the workplace. You should be learning in the workplace. So it's obedience, and that versatility is key as well. Because you said she was moving around, that sounded really familiar.
Yeah. Did she want to be working for someone else? She did not. She had a plan. She had a vision. She had a plan.
I love it.
And she walked that thing out. And she allowed what she was moving into those different positions. She was learning. She was learning what she needed to learn in order to run her business effectively.
Class is this. That's it. That's what it's about.
It is. It is. Take the tool. Take what God is giving you and use it and grow it and multiply it, so that then you can take what you've learned to make your business work.
And that's, how that sounds like, people be saying that we pray for a cake and then God gives ingredients. Like you just said, we can get
the butter.
We can get all this stuff. You can get that from everywhere. You can get it from church. You can get it from, because guess what? There's leadership in church as well, because people don't take it serious, but you very well should take that position serious well. You should do everything with excellence. That's a whole nother topic, because we shouldn't be, when you sell yourself short in anything, it's a poor reflection of your brand. Anything with your name on it, guess what? You need to come with it. I say that all the time. I feel like that's one thing. I was like, you didn't work this hard to get this far, and just to be messy and sloppy and not do it right. Because ultimately, people should see me and say, hey, she's been consistent. She has great customer service. She has great product. Like, these are associations. This is my brand. This is money. This is my
it's like what you said, when people do business with you, yes, they want your product or service, but they're really connecting with you as a person. The first deal we ever did in real estate as creative, let me say creatively, where purchasing someone's home. They didn't do it because we bought the best deal. They connected with us as people. So you are your brand. You are your brand. You are dropping so much value, ma'am. I'm telling you. I hope the viewers have got out their paper and their pencil, whatever they're writing with, your chalk, your crayon, whatever it is. I know you took some good notes today because Ms. Lakika, you have been giving them gem after gem after gem after gem from the beginning, ma'am. From the beginning. We've covered your why. We've covered your preparation time. You know, you covered them thinking through the process of how to go, how to transition from your 9 to 5 into your entrepreneurship. Or should I make that transition from my 9 to 5 into my entrepreneurship? And I mean, I was going to ask you how you balance your career and your business, but you answered that anyway. You know, you answered that because for that entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur who is just chomping at the bit to get out, you answered that though. You gave them that answer. Be patient.
Be patient.
Learn from your current experiences to build yourself up to whether or not you should walk away. And know them numbers. Know the numbers.
It's got to make sense.
It's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. Wow. Let me tell you, some value here today. Some value here today. Well, it doesn't matter whether you're creative, an accountant, or lawyer, a doctor, the masseuse. It doesn't matter. It's business at the end of the day.
It is.
And knowing how to run it properly, set it up properly, and run it properly, so that and have the system set up so that you can actually enjoy providing the product or the service. Yeah.
Yes. Like all of that.
Yes. Oh man, you know what? Our hour is almost up. Like it doesn't even seem like it, but you gave us such great value. But before you go, ma'am, I need you. I put your website in the comments. I'm about to put it again. Tell us about some upcoming events that you might have going on. And for sure, if people want to reach out to you, we have some companies or individuals who are thinking, hey, Lakika needs to come to my office and do this. How can they reach out to you?
Yes. So first I'll start with some upcoming events.
Okay.
I do have potentially an upcoming event coming up with the Big Creek Winery. It's in Christiana in July, which that would be more be announced via my website. I'm going to provide all that for you, and also my social media and ways to follow and stay connected with me. However, I will, one other thing is a newbie. I'm going to start a Smart Girls Paint Club in the fall for girls ages 13 to 17, encouraging the young queens to get engaged, be creative, love themselves. Inspirational bit that I'm coming up with. That's going to be fun, but more information will come about that. And you can gain this information and contact me via my social media. My Instagram is Brush It Off with Lakika, as my name is spelled on the screen. Brush It Off with Lakika. And then I have a Facebook page, which is Brush It Off as well. And I have a website, which is justbrushitoff.com. Okay. So if you want to contact me, that's how I book parties. If you're interested, if you're a company, organization that's interested in booking me for team building, I do a lot of inspirational, creative things, not limited to canvases. I do team building. We paint vinyl records. We pot, because I work with a lot of churches as well. We have little clay pots. We decorate those and do the symbolism of growth. I do so many creative mediums, just ways to help encourage people and build teams. So yeah, contact me again. My website, justbrushitoff.com. And yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you're looking for it in the comments, ladies and gentlemen, please look in the comments. I have Lakika's website in the comments, and I am right now posting her Facebook in the comments as well. So you can get her contact information there. Yeah. I don't want anybody to leave this broadcast saying, but I don't know how to get it.
Yes.
Look in the comments. It is here. Well, Miss Lakika, it has been amazing. I so appreciate you for being a guest with us today and for everything that you have shared. Appreciate you, ma'am.
But can I thank you? Thank you for having me. Thank you for this platform. You don't know how I admit you yesterday, because we don't have a platform like this all the time, particularly us creatives. So I appreciate it. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for your obedience. And I pray amazing things with this. I know it will be, but just thank you and keep doing what you're doing. Stay encouraged. I always stay connected because I love you so much.
Yes, we've been connected forever now. Forever, okay? Forever. But I'm telling you, you can come back on the platform. There are other people in the creative space. Just, you have the link, send it to them, because Vic and I, the whole show about Create Your Future Self is really to be able to bring value to our audience. Mm-hmm. And we have people who are in all types of things. And so far, you are like the first creative, really, that we've had on the show.
Wow.
And that it's been such an amazing blessing. You know, business is business. The product or service is the product or service that you provide. But we want to bring encouragement and enlightenment to every entrepreneur who tunes in. We don't want somebody in a creative space that said, these people are always talking about real estate. They're always talking about they always talk about this, but nothing for me. What about me? Well, we want to be able to have guests that bring value to every single viewer that tunes into our show. And you have done that for us today. We truly have.
Thank you.
We're going to have to come back again for sure. Okay. You will be back again.
Okay. And yes, the answer is yes.
All right. You know what? Before we wrap it up, I forgot to ask the most important question. We always ask every guest that comes on, tell me about your future self in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Give me what the future Lakika or the future Just Brush It Off. What does that look like?
Fearless, no boundaries. I don't want to limit what God can do with Brush It Off. He's already blown my mind. So I encourage people to, I don't even think my eyes have seen what he can do with me, as long as I stay obedient and flexible and open. And my future self is fearless.
Come on now.
Like, I'm like just doing it. Like, come on, God, what you got? Let's do this. So I don't even want to put a limit. I'm always afraid. I tell people there's a difference real quick between there's visionaries and there's executors. Well, I'm an executor. I know it sounds crazy with me being a creative, but I am an executor. So God has to limit what he shows me sometimes, because he know I'll be like, oh, let's go. Because I'm action. I'm all about executing. So he doesn't show me everything. He knows that I'm going to do it. So I want to establish and keep that trust that I'll go when he says go. So whatever that is, whatever that means, even if it's not in this, I'm okay with that. And the answer is yes. And the answer is yes.
It is yes. Yeah. All right now. Miss Fearless. Come on now. I love it. Wow. Well, guys, this has been an amazing hour of Create Your Future Self Live. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you again, Miss Lakika. Vic will be back with us next week. He is still vacationing, and yes, I'm jealous. I didn't get to go to the UK. But Vic will be back with us next week. We'll be back here 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with another great guest on Create Your Future Self Live. Until next time, I'm Laquita Monley. This is Create Your Future Self. You guys have a great evening. God bless.